What did one flea say to the other? Shall we walk or shall we take the dog? You have a note from your teacher. You got in trouble today, didn't you? I swear, those were the first words Grandma said to me when I walked in the door. I hadn't said a word. Maybe I'd been right. That note in my backpack was alive and giving off a noise audible to me and Grandma. He's in trouble. He's got a note from school. I suddenly realized that I had 2 notes in my knapsack and that maybe I could do a switch. At least it would buy me some time. I do have a note from the teacher, but I'm not in trouble. Some kid got head lice, and now we all have to be checked. Oh no, not lice. Once, when I was a kid, I touched my best friend's braid and I got head lice, and they made me shave my hair, said Grandma. I had to wear a wig. I was so humiliated. Oh, let me look. I bent down my head for her inspection. Her fingers felt gentle on my scalp. Oh, there's one little loose, said Grandma, parting my hair. He's kind of cute. I think he's doing the jitterbug. I hooted. Grandma, that's so funny. Did you just think that up? Grandma nodded, and I could tell she was pleased that I liked her joke. Well, that little bug is certainly doing some kind of dance, she said. In class today, I told the teacher that head lice have a right to live too. Not on my grandson's head, said Grandma. Come on. She went to the medicine cabinet and got down the awful-smelling shampoo. She put on yellow rubber gloves. The doctor is ready to operate, she said. Maybe we should let them dance a little more, I said. Poor guys. They're having a party. Suddenly it's a raid and the shampoo police are there. I suppose we could let them have one last dance before they go, said Grandma. Maybe we should put on some music for them. Grandma put her backside in motion as she did a little 2-step over to the stereo and put on some of her favorite New Orleans music. Grandma grew up in New York City, but she says her soul is from New Orleans. She held out her hands for me to dance with her. We've been dancing together ever since I can remember. She studied my hair as we danced. Oh, look, she said. There's one doing the electric slide. He's a funky little bug. There's another one. That one's doing the Macarena. Grandma and I both started waving our hands in the air and shaking our hips. We did a quarter turn, and then I started laughing so hard I collapsed in a heap on the floor. Grandma smiled down at me. Your grandpa used to laugh like that. I could make him laugh until tears rolled down his face. I looked up at her. I love to make you laugh, I said. I know, said Grandma. So if Grandpa loved to laugh, and you loved to laugh, how come Dad... I paused. I didn't know what to say. I know Dad thinks he's funny, but he isn't. Grandma looked at me as if she understood. Your grandfather had a lot of rules, she said. I could make your grandfather laugh, but he wanted his son to know that life wasn't a bed of roses. She shook her head and sighed. It was weird for me to think of Dad as a kid with problems with his own dad. I never met my grandfather. He died before I was born. Dad always seemed so sure of himself, sure that he's right, so sure about rules. Come on, let me shampoo your hair, said Grandma, cheering me up. We went into the bathroom. I sat in the toilet while she rubbed the shampoo on my head. It burned a little, and it stank. Goodbye, poor little lice, I said, and I held my head over the sink, and Grandma rinsed the shampoo out, careful not to get it in my eyes. I watched the shampoo go down the drain. Let's say something nice about the lice, said Grandma. We both broke up laughing before we could think of anything. Then we heard the front door open. Dad shouted, Anybody home? Grandma and I looked at each other. We're in the bathroom, shouted Grandma. What's that smell? Dad followed the smell into the bathroom where we were. It's loose shampoo, said Grandma. My father scratched his head, just the way all of us did when Mr. Matus mentioned the little critters. I smiled. What's so funny? Nothing. You were just scratching your hair. That's what everybody does when they hear about head lice. That's all we need, said Dad. Lice in the house. Jimmy moves out, so you decided to bring us a little house pet? Is that it, Bobby? The head lice are not Bobby's fault, said Grandma. How can you talk about a pet replacing Jimmy? I said angrily. I miss him. Jimmy's still my brother. The funky, jitterbugging lice were deader than a doornail. The laughing and the dancing seemed to belong to another planet. Grandma wiped her hands and started to leave the bathroom. Dad made room for Grandma to pass, but they gave each other a funny look. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember that Grandma is my dad's mother. The two of them are so incredibly different. Dad leaned on the doorframe of the bathroom. I just remembered a bug joke, he said to me. What did one flea say to the other flea? Shall we walk or shall we take the dog? I answered. Dad told me that joke a long time ago. Nah. Shall we walk, or shall we take the kid with bugs in his ears? Dad, I don't get that joke. It doesn't make sense. Well, you're the kid with a bug in his ear. I don't have bugs in my ears. They were in my hair. Don't be so literal. You're losing your sense of humor, said Dad. I could tell Dad was trying to tell me a joke to smooth over what he had said about Jimmy, but a joke wasn't the same as saying he was sorry. What about your homework, Bobby? Said Dad. Have you done it? Or do you have a bug in your ear about that, too? I'd like to put a bug in your ear, I muttered, just low enough so that he didn't understand. What's that? Dad asked suspiciously. I thought about the note from Mr. Matus. I could feel it pulsing like an obnoxious beeper in my backpack. I didn't want to give it to Dad. Not now, not ever. I don't have a bug in my ear, I said, just wanting to say anything that would get the subject away from homework. Who gets bugs in their ears anyhow? It's just a thing kids say, Dad said, as if he were the authority on what kids say. No kids I know say it, I said. Yeah, well, the kids you know probably think bungee jumping off the Empire State Building should be an Olympic sport. That's not true, I said. Didn't you want to go bungee jumping this summer? Yes, with Tyrone and his father. They said it was perfectly safe, and it wasn't off the Empire State Building. It was from a crane on one of the piers. And if Tyrone wanted you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? I sighed. I hated that question. Dad was always asking it, as if it made sense and was the perfect reason for saying no whenever I asked to do something when my friends got to. Dad looked at me. Well, you didn't answer my question. About jumping off a bridge? No, about doing your homework. I did it, I lied. Now excuse me, I want to wash the smell of the shampoo off. Dad gave me a funny look, but I left the bathroom. I wondered if he had inherited Grandma's extrasensory powers and knew that I had a note from Mr. Matus. I went into the shower. I turned the water on as hot as I could stand it. My body's changing on me. I'm getting bigger all over. I'm about 3 inches taller than I was at the beginning of the school year. I was nearly 5'3", even though I was only in 5th grade. Dad was only 5'7". Maybe by 6th grade I'd be taller than him. I let the water run over me. Maybe I could just stay in the shower until that happened.